Today we have 18 awesomely banned songs, ripped from the shelves for reasons that are sometimes wild, sometimes really stupid. Maybe they got pulled from the radio, blocked by nervous retailers, or caught in the crosshairs of watchdog groups. From lyrics that raised eyebrows to album covers that sparked outrage, these tracks didn't just push boundaries, they crossed them. So come on and let's count down the awesome songs and albums that got banned, shelved, or silenced, and still ended up unforgettable. Barry Maguire, Eve of Destruction, 1965. This wasn't bubblegum pop, it was a Molotov cocktail with a backbeat. When Barry Maguire's gravelly voice hit the airwaves in 1965, Eve of Destruction shook up the top 40 like a protest march through a sock hop. Nuclear war, civil rights, the draft, it name-checked every anxiety of the era in just over 3 minutes. Radio stations didn't know what to do with it. Some banned it outright, others played it only late at night. Program directors said it was, quote, too negative, too controversial, even un-American. One southern station aired it, but with rebuttals after each verse, no joke. But for teens and young adults, it was like someone had finally cracked open the pressure valve. It wasn't polished, it wasn't hopeful, it was real. And somehow, despite the bans and bleeped lines, it shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Maguire didn't just sing it, he delivered it, like news from the front lines. Eve of Destruction wasn't just a song, it was a warning siren, and once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. ABBA Waterloo, 1974. Hard to believe, but ABBA's glitter-soaked breakthrough track raised more than just eyebrows in '74. Waterloo might sound like harmless pop now, but some broadcasters weren't feeling the love. Comparing a breakup to Napoleon's humiliating defeat? Bit much for some folks. A few European radio stations pulled back, delaying airplay or refusing to spin it altogether. Too flippant, too irreverent. Love and war, not everyone saw the fun in it. In Eurovision, well, that was an entirely different circus. ABBA showed up in flashy outfits, glam rock sparkle, and dared to move around on stage, which was borderline scandalous under Eurovision's stiff old rules. Rumors flew that Waterloo might get disqualified, but none of that mattered. It smashed the competition, won Eurovision, and launched ABBA into the stratosphere. The cheeky lyrics, the unstoppable beat, it was simply irresistible. And it taught the world something. Even a disco banger can ruffle feathers when it rewrites the rules. Waterloo wasn't banned everywhere, but it definitely hit speed bumps. And honestly, well, I think that just made it even cooler. The Everly Brothers, Wake Up Little Susie, 1957. Ooh la la, wake up a little Susie, wake up a little Susie. Picture this, 1957, and America's clutching its pearls over teenagers falling asleep at the movies. Yeah, really. The Everly Brothers dropped Wake Up Little Susie with those angelic harmonies, but radio stations were acting like they'd unleashed Satan himself. The song, two kids doze off at a drive-in, wake up at 4 a.m. and panic about explaining themselves to mom and dad. That's it. No hanky-panky, no rebellion, just pure anxiety about being late for curfew. But Boston's moral guardians went nuclear. Church leaders literally campaigned against it, convinced this innocent ditty would corrupt America's youth. Baby, looks like we goofed again. Wake up, little Susie. And the real kicker, the song's biggest crime was acknowledging that people might think something happened, even when nothing did. Revolutionary stuff, right? But radio stations from Boston to other conservative markets yanked it faster than you could say Reputation. But here's the beautiful irony. All that moral outrage just made kids want to hear it more. The song shot to #1 anyway, proving that sometimes the best publicity is a good old-fashioned ban. Because Don and Phil Everly basically became legends for singing about oversleeping. Talk about making mountains out of molehills. America in the 50s, folks. America in the 50s. The Beach Boys, God Only Knows, 1966. Good living to me. So get this, radio stations actually banned one of the most gorgeous love songs ever written because it had the word God in the title. Welcome to 1966, where apparently mixing romance with reverence was too spicy for the airwaves. Brian Wilson, R.I.P., and Tony Asher crafted this masterpiece during the Pet Sounds sessions, complete with that haunting French horn and Carl Wilson's butter-smooth vocals. But nervous radio programmers took one look at the title and went, no, too religious for pop music. Never mind that the song's basically saying, I'd be lost without you, but having God's name anywhere near a love song made stations sweat. Paul McCartney called it the greatest song ever written, but try telling that to the pearl-clutching program directors who thought it was somehow sacrilegious. The irony, it's one of the most respectful, tender songs you'll ever hear. No controversy, no scandal, just pure musical poetry. The band backfired spectacularly. While some stations played it safe, others embraced it, and now it's considered the Beach Boys' crown jewel. Rolling Stone ranked it number 25 on the greatest songs ever list. Not bad for a risky 3-minute love letter, huh? I guess sometimes the most beautiful art comes from the most ridiculous controversies. Frank Zappa, We're Only in It for the Money, 1968. Frank Zappa wasn't here to make you comfortable, he was here to blow up the box. His 1968 album, We're Only in It for the Money, with the Mothers of Invention, was part satire, part sonic chaos, and 100% anti-establishment. It poked a sharp stick at pop culture, hippie hypocrisy, and the music industry's obsession with image over substance. The original cover, a full-blown parody of Sgt. Pepper, but way weirder. I mean way weirder, too weird apparently. The label panicked, flipped the artwork inside the gatefold, and slapped a blurry band photo on the front. It looked like an album left in a hot car. And the censorship did not stop there. Lyrics got trimmed, sound bites got cut, and Zappa was not thrilled. But still, the music was uncaged genius. Wild genre shifts, spoken word tangents, and a gleeful middle finger to the mainstream. Zappa once said, quote, most people wouldn't know good music if it came up and bit them. Well, this album, it bit hard. Now, it wasn't banned outright, but it was sanitized, reshuffled, and nearly shelved, and that's what made it classic Zappa, provocative, prophetic, and too smart to be ignored. The Rolling Stones, Street Fighting Man, 1968. 1968, America's literally on fire with protests and riots, and here comes the Rolling Stones with a song called Street Fighting Man. Hey, what could go wrong? Chicago radio stations took one look at that title during the Democratic National Convention chaos and said, no, absolutely not. But the irony, Mick Jagger wasn't actually calling for a revolution. He was asking what a sleepy London town rock star could even do in times like these. But yeah, try explaining nuance to nervous program directors watching their city burn. The song's raw sound came from pure accident. Keith Richards recorded his acoustic guitar through a crappy cassette player, which created that gritty, in-your-face tone that made it kind of sound like a call to arms. And then Charlie Watts bashed away on a tiny drum kit, and suddenly they had lightning in a bottle. Mayor Richard Daley's Chicago wasn't having it. Radio stations pulled it faster than you can say London town, and other cities followed suit, terrified of adding fuel to an already explosive situation. But here's the thing, banning a Stone song in 1968 was like putting a do not touch sign on a button that shoots off a candy rocket. Kids wanted to hear it even more. The song became an underground anthem, spreading through bootlegs and word of mouth. And sometimes the most dangerous songs are the ones asking the right questions. John Lennon, Working Class Hero, 1970. Working class hero is something to be. After the Beatles, John Lennon wasn't chasing hits, he was chasing truth. Working Class Hero wasn't flashy, just a voice, a guitar, and a message that cut deep. No hooks, no harmonies, just Lennon laying it all out, from childhood conformity to adult disillusionment. It was raw, bleak, and brutally honest. And that honesty, well, it got him banned. The lyric, "You're still effing peasants as far as I can see," sent broadcasters scrambling. In the US and UK, stations pulled the plug. Some record stores even refused to carry the Plastic Ono Band album.
A working class hero is something to be.
Lennon refused to censor it. He said, quote, "If you want to tell the truth, you have to be strong enough to offend." And offend he did. The song simply wasn't made to comfort, it was made to confront. It didn't chart, it didn't cheer you up, but it did make you listen. And years later, it's still doing that. Banned for a word, remembered for its power. Working Class Hero wasn't protest music with a chant. It was a quiet revolution whispered straight into your headphones. The Kinks, Lola, 1970.
Like a man on my Lola. La, 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 la.
Here's peak bureaucratic insanity. The BBC nearly killed one of rock's greatest anthems because Ray Davies dared to mention Coca-Cola. Not the cross-dressing storyline that had everyone talking. Nope, it was product placement that got their knickers in a twist. Picture this, the Kinks are touring America when the BBC calls and says, "Great song, but that Coke reference violates our advertising policy." So what does Ray Davies do? He flies back across the Atlantic. We're talking 1970 here, not exactly a quick hop, just to re-record one single line. Coca-Cola became Cherry Cola, and boom, radio gold. But the real kicker is that nobody batted an eye at the song's actual story about a night out in Soho that takes an unexpected turn. But mention a brand name, full stop, panic mode. The BBC's priorities were absolutely backwards. That original mix still exists somewhere in the vaults, making it one of rock's most expensive word swaps. Davies literally flew thousands of miles to change 2 syllables. Talk about commitment to your craft and to a pretty dumb rule. The song hit number 2 in the UK and became a cultural phenomenon. All that fuss over a soft drink, while the real story sailed right past the censors. So I guess sometimes the most obvious controversies hide in plain sight. Lou Reed, Walk on the Wild Side, 1972.
Take a walk on the wild side. I said, hey Joe, take a walk on the wild.
On the surface, it sounded smooth as silk. Cool bass line, mellow sax, and that hypnotic do-do-do chorus. But Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side wasn't just vibing, it was sneaking entire taboos onto AM radio. Each verse told the story of real-life characters from Andy Warhol's factory scene. Trans women, sex workers, hustlers, people pop music didn't dare name in 1972. And yet there they were, sliding into the mainstream under the radar. Some DJs didn't even notice the now infamous line about oral, until the complaints started rolling in.
Outside. Oh, honey, you take a walk on the wild side.
Stations panicked, some pulled the track, others chopped up the verses. But the damage, or brilliance, was done. And the song still cracked the top 20 in the US. Lou Reed never yelled, he never preached, he just told the truth with a shrug. Walk on the Wild Side didn't ask for permission, it just walked in, lit a cigarette, and changed the rules. The song wasn't banned everywhere, but it definitely made radio execs sweat, and made music just a little braver for it. Black Sabbath, 1970. Valentine's Day 1970. While everyone else was buying chocolates, Black Sabbath dropped the heaviest, most terrifying album ever recorded. Stores took one look at that foggy graveyard cover and said, "Nope, not selling this devil music. Hear, 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 hear." The opening track literally starts with actual thunder and church bells, and then Tony Iommi unleashes that tritone, the devil's interval that medieval monks banned for being too evil. So yeah, religious groups went absolutely ballistic. Record stores pulled it from the shelves faster than you could say Iommi, and some chains refused to stock it entirely. But here's the beautiful irony. The band named themselves after a Boris Karloff horror movie, not some occult manifesto. They were just 4 working-class kids from Birmingham who thought heavy, scary music sounded cool. Ozzy was singing about nightmares, not summoning demons. The moral panic backfired spectacularly, of course. Kids lined up at the few stores brave enough to sell it. Underground record stores couldn't keep it in stock. And word spread through the grapevine like wildfire. You gotta hear this forbidden album. What they created by accident was the entire heavy metal genre. That down-tuned, crushing sound became the template for everything from Metallica to Slayer. All because some store owners got spooked by a little atmospheric thunder. Helen Ready, I Am Woman, 1972. When Helen Ready first recorded I Am Woman, her label practically shrugged. Too serious, too feminist, too not what they thought would sell. But Helen, she knew exactly what she was doing. It started slow. Released in 1972, the song wasn't an instant smash, but word had spread. Women across the country started calling in radio stations requesting it by name. One DJ reportedly said, quote, "I've never seen this many women dial a rotary phone this fast," which, I mean, ugh. But by the end of the year, I Am Woman had climbed all the way to number 1.
But it's wisdom for the pain. Yes, I paid the price.
But not without backlash. Some stations refused to play it. Critics called it shrill, preachy, even dangerous. But Helen didn't flinch. She said, quote, "I couldn't find any songs that said what I believed, so I wrote one." And with that, she gave the women's movement an anthem. No, it wasn't banned everywhere, but it sure was resisted, and that's exactly what made it matter. Calm, confident, and definitely strong. I Am Woman roared not with volume, but with purpose, and that was more than enough. Loretta Lynn, The Pill, 1975.
Turn down your brooder house, 'cause now I've got the pill.
Leave it to the coal miner's daughter to sing about birth control and make country radio absolutely lose its mind. Loretta Lynn dropped The Pill in 1975 like a musical hand grenade, and suddenly everyone had an opinion about women's reproductive freedom. The song, Pure Loretta, sassy, honest, and unapologetic. She's singing about finally having control over her own body, with lines about not being pregnant every single year. Country radio stations clutched the pearl so hard they probably left marks on the hand. Over 60 radio stations banned it outright, calling it, quote, too controversial for family listening. But here's where it gets good. Loretta Lynn didn't back down 1 inch. When reporters asked if she regretted the song, she basically said, "Honey, I've had 6 kids. I know what I'm talking about."
You may change the world tomorrow, but meanwhile today.
The woman had zero patience for male radio programmers telling her what she could sing about. And the band backfired, of course. Record stores couldn't keep it in stock. Women were requesting it like crazy, and bootleg copies spread faster than gossip at church. It became her biggest underground hit. And the real genius was she rapped a feminist anthem in a catchy country tune. Sneaky, brilliant, and absolutely necessary. Because sometimes the most important songs are the ones that make people uncomfortable. Loretta Lynn, feminist icon in rhinestones. Donna Summer, Love to Love You, Baby, 1975. When Love to Love You, Baby hit in 75, it didn't just play, it purred. Donna Summer's breathy delivery stretched over Moroder's hypnotic synth groove. It felt like a disco daydream laced with candlelight. And while the track was sultry, the original album version took it to a whole other level. I'm talking 17 minutes of seductive moaning and whispered ecstasy that made radio DJs sweat more than the club kids.
Love to love you, baby. Love to love you, baby.
The BBC, they straight up banned it. US stations clipped it down or aired it only at night. One reviewer famously called it, quote, audio foreplay. Even Donna herself reportedly blushed and said she recorded it lying on the floor with lights off to stay in the mood. But the controversy only boosted its mystique. The edited single soared to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 1 million copies. It didn't just launch Donna Summer, it lit the fuse on the disco explosion. Banned or not, Love to Love You, Baby proved one thing. Sensuality had a soundtrack, and Donna Summer owned it. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax, 1983. January 11th, 1984, BBC Radio 1 DJ Mike Reed is spinning records when Relax comes on. He actually reads the lyrics for the first time, goes, "Oh my god," and yanks the needle off mid-song, live on air. and that single moment launched one of the biggest controversies and hits of the 1980s. The BBC never officially banned it, but suddenly every headline screamed banned. The song was about, well, let's just say it wasn't about meditation. Producer Trevor Horn had crafted this thumping dance monster with Holly Johnson's sultry vocals, and nobody noticed the innuendo until it was already climbing the charts. But here's the beautiful irony. Reed's moral panic turned Relax into the Streisand effect on steroids. Kids who'd never heard of Frankie Goes to Hollywood were suddenly lining up at record shops.
Relax, don't do it when you wanna go to it.
The song shot to #1 and camped there for 5 impressive weeks. Their Frankie Say Relax t-shirts became the hottest fashion statement in Britain. The band was basically unknown before this. 4 guys from Liverpool making dance music. But one DJ's squeamishness transformed them into global superstars overnight. They sold over 1 million copies in the UK alone, cause sometimes the best marketing campaign is a good old-fashioned moral panic. Prince, 1999 from 1982.
It's 1999.
When Prince dropped 1999, it wasn't just an album, it was a warning. The future was funky and it was coming fast. The title track had that apocalyptic party vibe. Tonight we're gonna party like it's 1999. Translation, the world might end, but we're gonna dance first. And that beat, pure synth pop magic, laced with funk, rock, and whatever other genre Prince decided to reinvent before breakfast. But it wasn't just the groove that raised eyebrows. It was the lyrics, especially on tracks like Little Red Corvette. Smooth, metaphor-heavy, and just suggestive enough to make a few programmers panic.
Streaming when I wrote this, so sue me if I go too fast.
Some stations gave it the side eye or limited airplay, unsure if listeners were ready for this purple-clad enigma singing about fast cars and faster women. Prince just didn't care. He wasn't asking for permission, he was setting the pace. And while some broadcasters fumbled, the audience got it right. 1999 wasn't banned everywhere, but it definitely rubbed a few gatekeepers the wrong way. And the result, a revolution in sound. Prince made music feel dangerous, sexy, and ahead of its time, and he did it without ever blinking. Madonna, Dress You Up, 1985. Picture this, it's 1985 and a bunch of Washington wives are clutching their pearls over Madonna singing about fashion. Dress You Up landed on PMRC's infamous Filthy 15 list, right alongside Prince and Twisted Sister. Their crime, apparently talking about how clothing was too sexy for America's youth. The Parents Music Resource Center, led by the infamous Tipper Gore, decided this bouncy pop song about styling someone was corrupting teenagers. Never mind that it's basically about playing dress up. The mere mention of dressing you up in my love sent them into moral overdrive. They slapped it with an S rating for sexual content. Yeah, really. Madonna's response? Pure genius. She leaned into the controversy like it was her job, turning every clutched pearl into publicity gold.
Your silky touch of my caresses.
The song climbed to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, proving that sometimes the best marketing is manufactured outrage. But the real kicker here is Dress You Up is probably one of Madonna's most innocent songs. It's literally about fashion and love, wrapped in the catchiest 80s production you've ever heard. But the PMRC saw innuendo everywhere, turning a fun dance track into a cultural battleground. The result, Madonna became the queen of controversy, the PMRC looked ridiculous, and kids everywhere just kept dancing. Sometimes the moral police create their own worst enemies. Neil Young, This Note's for You, 1988.
This note's for you.
By the late 80s, rock stars were starting to look like walking billboards. Pepsi, Nike, Budweiser. If you had a guitar, odds were you had a sponsor. But Neil Young, of course, wasn't having it. With This Note's for You, he took a bluesy, horn-backed jab at all the corporate tie-ins. Ain't singing for Pepsi, he growled. Ain't singing for Coke. That wasn't just a lyric, it was a line in the sand. The music video was awesome and of course doubled down, spoofing big-budget ads and tossing in lookalikes of Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. MTV got cold feet and banned the video, worried it might upset their sponsors. Big mistake.
There's
notes for you.
Fans rallied, the buzz exploded, and Neil had officially started a conversation about selling out. In a beautiful twist, the same video MTV once refused to air ended up winning Video of the Year at the 1989 VMAs. Neil Young didn't chase trends, he challenged them. And with This Note's for You, he proved integrity could still be louder than money. Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen, 1977.
Take the queen, 'cause tourists are money.
May 1977, Britain's throwing the biggest party in 25 years for Queen Elizabeth's Silver Jubilee, and the Sex Pistols crash it with the most incendiary 3 minutes in punk history. God Save the Queen dropped right into the middle of the flag-waving patriotic fever like a Molotov cocktail at a tea party. The BBC banned it instantly, Radio Luxembourg refused to play it, record stores yanked it from the shelves faster than you can yell "Anarchy!" Virgin Records had to change the song title to a bunch of question marks on some pressings just to get it distributed. Even the pressing plants were getting death threats. But here's the beautiful part, it shot to number 2 on the UK charts anyway. Conspiracy theorists swear it actually hit number 1 but got bumped down to spare the Queen's feelings during her big celebration. The official chart that week mysteriously showed Rod Stewart at the top, but record sales told a different story. Johnny Rotten wasn't just insulting the monarchy, he was calling out the entire British establishment. Lines like "No future" became the battle cry of the disillusioned youth. The song turned into an underground anthem, spread through bootlegs and word of mouth. The Pistols had managed to punk an entire nation during its biggest party. Malcolm McLaren's publicity stunt became a cultural earthquake that's still reverberating even today. Pure punk perfection. Man, aren't those 18 awesomely banned songs? Isn't it wild how trying to silence a song only seemed to turn up the volume? From whispered scandals to headline-grabbing court cases, each of these tracks proves that music has a way of pushing through the noise, sometimes by making a little more noise of its own. But what about you? Do you remember when one of these songs first caught your ear? Or maybe someone told you not to listen to that one? Well, please get down in the comment section and tell me all your memories of these awesomely banned songs. I'd love to hear which one rocked your world. If you enjoyed our list, our video, please hit that thumbs up icon to show your support. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a trip down memory lane. Until next time, from all of us here at Do You Remember, I'm Nostalgic Nick, reminding you the best tunes don't always play by the rules, and that's what makes them rock.